So I'm going to start this video off by saying that life is hard. Life isn't easy. We struggle. You struggle. I struggle. We all struggle, right? Life is difficult, and it's supposed to be that way. The thing is, not everybody sees the struggle, right? We as human beings like to project perfection. We like to hide the struggle from others because we want others to think that it came easy for us. We as Americans, right? If you're from America, for whatever reason, there's a culture that easy is better. That because it came easy to me, I am better than. But all this does is trick other people, hardworking people, into thinking that they aren't good enough. It tricks others, and it, at the end of the day, leaves others, including myself, unhappy and disillusioned with the reality of the world, right? You know it. You've made mistakes. You've failed. You've struggled. Why hide it? And if you're a practicing clinician, shit, you've probably made a mistake that turned out to be fatal. You probably made a mistake that ended up harming another human's life. And it has nothing to do with you not being good enough or, something else, but it's just part of the process sometimes because you don't know it all. You're not born knowing it all. But here's the thing, this is life. And although I started off this video as, portraying something negative, this is the beauty in life. The beauty is that there is no absolutes. The beauty is that it's ever changing, ever evolving. We're always growing. This is life. And because this is life, the reality is perfection doesn't exist. And if we can't be perfect, then the struggle never truly ends. And to demand perfection of yourself from myself will only leave us saddened, will leave us unhappy, and will leave others disillusioned. Now, before we get into the actual struggles, I really want to ask for a huge favor. If you wouldn't mind just subscribing to the channel and liking this video, that really helps out a lot. It really helps YouTube's algorithm kind of get this video out in front of more people. Now, two big struggles that I've dealt with, right, that I want to talk about today. Obviously, I've had a ton more, but I want to make these relevant. Now, when I was in clinical practice, I worked family medicine, I worked OBGYN, and as part of that family practice, I did a lot of cosmetic procedures. So Botox, sclera, laser therapy, things of that nature, right? Now, I remember there was one patient of mine that I had that would come in, male patient, coming in for Botox. Like clockwork every 3 months. He was a regular patient of mine. I've done Botox a ton of times. And if you're not familiar with Botox, basically it comes in a powder and you need to mix it with solution to make it into a liquid form, which you then inject, right, into the muscle. So the thing is, the way I mixed Botox in the past was I would use a 25 gauge needle, which is a little bit bigger, and then I would switch out the needle, right, that's used to mix, and then I would switch out the needle to a 30 gauge because it makes the injection a lot more painless, right? 30 gauge is a very small sized needle. Now, there was one instance where this patient comes in, and I don't know what it was about that day. It's not the first time I've done Botox. I knew how to do it. He was a regular patient of mine, but maybe I was just overwhelmed with the day. Maybe I had a lot of patients. Maybe my mind was preoccupied with other things. But on that day when he came in, I did the usual, prepared the Botox, mixed it with a 25 gauge needle. And then I switched the needle and put another 25 gauge needle on. So I used the same size needle to mix the solution as I did to inject this man's face. It's a thick needle. Now here's the funny part. He didn't complain. In fact, he had no idea that I was using the wrong size needle. He had very thick skin, and all I can remember was trying to inject this man's face, but I had a very difficult time putting the needle into the muscle. It was hard. It wouldn't go in. And I didn't know what was going on. And I kept trying. And then finally I got it in. And then the solution, it just wouldn't come out normally. And I knew something was off, but I couldn't figure out what it was because, here I am. How could I have just something so stupid and simple, right? Needless to say, I did figure it out midway through. I was so embarrassed. I was ashamed. How could I have done such a stupid error, right? Something so simple. Anyway, I left the room. I told the guy that I forgot to, that I needed to change gloves for whatever reason. Went outside the room. got the new needles, got the new syringes, came back in the room, finished it off quickly, and that was that. But I had to like take a step back, and I remember walking into a little, like, we had a little closet area, and I just walked to the little closet area and was thinking to myself, how could I have just done that right now? I didn't really tell anybody about it. This was something that I was a little bit embarrassed and ashamed about. But it's one of those things that you don't hear about other people talking, right? If you're in the clinic, you're not going to hear these things from people because they're so ashamed. They want to put up this persona like they're experts, like they're gurus, like they've never made mistakes in their life. But the truth is, we all make mistakes. We all make mistakes because mistake isn't simply a lack of knowledge. Mistakes occur from a host of other factors like environment, right? What's going on at the moment? What happened the morning prior, the morning of? Did you get into a fight with your spouse? Were you having trouble with the children? Is somebody sick? Is there a loved one that you need to take care of? There's a host of other things that preoccupy our mind. It's not simply the lack of knowledge. And in a perfect world, yes, if you read the textbook, if you perform the procedure, you should be proficient. The problem is we're human beings, and our mind is affected by a host of external factors. That's life. That's the beauty of life, maneuvering through these things. Another mistake that I made very recently was when we started creating this question bank. And I started this project back a year ago, and we're barely going to start releasing the beta version in the next couple of weeks. Why did it take a year? Because at first, I hired somebody to write these questions for me. I spent over 6 to 7 months. I spent about $4,000 only to realize that this person had copied these questions from other resources. Plagiarized, straight plagiarized, word for word. Once I found out, I scrapped the whole project and we started over because that's not what I wanted, right? But here I am. I didn't double check the person. I didn't, I waited 6 months to actually double check the work. Had I double checked the work immediately, it would have saved me $4,000. It would have saved me 6 months of headache, wasted time, wasted money. But again, it's part of the process. Here's what's important. We can't define success based on our struggle or lack thereof of having struggle. We just can't do it. Perfection doesn't exist. And once we can shift our mind into realizing that the struggle is a requirement of success, that is when we can actually start becoming the best version of ourselves to reach our goals. But really, in order for this to be your truth, you have to first accept this as truth. You have to accept the fact that you will make mistakes, that you will fail, that you will struggle. Regardless of what anybody tells you, regardless of how many people you've encountered that said, I didn't study for this exam and yet I got an A. They studied. Regardless of how many people that said, I've never done this procedure before and I'm just a natural. They practiced. They failed. People that are the best of the best will have no problem telling you when they fail. Because in order to actually achieve that level of success, you have to let the ego go. You have to be transparent. And that's something that I'm trying to practice now, especially with this video. And once we can shift our perspective that we need this struggle, that we need this failure to improve, that's when I feel like we actually improve. That's when we stop being embarrassed about our failures. And that is when we stop hiding the truth from other people. So I hope this shed some insight. I hope this really helped some of you. If you could just do me one favor, I really want to get a dialogue going. What is one thing that you're struggling with right now? Do me a favor, leave a comment, let me know what you're struggling with. And if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. Again, this really helps this video get spread across YouTube so that we can put this in front of more eyes, help more people, share our story, bring the community deeper. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care, guys. Bye.